Welcome to the West Clinic Hellness to Wellness podcast. This is taking people that are sick, out of hope, frustrated or confused with their medical recommendations, or are searching for another pathway to health, and it's finding incredible patient outcomes of people just like you. And it's not just saying it. You can see and hear the hundreds of patient success stories on our website, blog, YouTube channel, and of course, right here, coming at you with over a century of patient success in the West Clinic system. Here's your host, Dr. Jason West.
Hey everyone, welcome to the West Clinic podcast. It is all about getting your energy and your mojo back, helping people that want to live up here instead of just eking by. And we've got a great program tonight. It's all about energy, and the biggest problem with getting rid of energy, or what's happening with people, is the thief of energy, also known as pain, which drives so many office visits and everything else. And what it does is it burns out your hormone system, and then it burns out your adrenal glands and your thyroid glands, and it just headaches, and it makes it so you can't sleep, and it causes premature aging and everything else. We're talking about pain and what to do about it. And of course, there's so many different things that I wanted you guys to be aware of what we can do for pain. So thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, we're here every Wednesday night. And just as a precursor, next week we're going to be talking about female health, miscarriages and endometriosis and infertility and some other things, and how it relates to all of the women that are in my life and in your life, and how all of that is connected together to really help balance out hormones. So I'm excited to share that information. Tonight's program, we're going to be all talking about, again, energy. Now, last week we were talking about energy from infections. This one, we're going to talk about how to help with energy and pain. And just a couple quick shout outs to everyone that's making it happen. One is my friends and literally family. That's my patient base that come in every day and teach me and get taught, and we get to laugh and have fun and cry and everything else together that goes along with that journey in healthcare. A couple shout outs to those, Macy and to Jordan and to the whole team at the West Clinic, world's greatest nurse practitioner, Shelby, and my friend, Dr. Nelson, who we sit in the back hall and we figure out how to change people's lives. So just wanted to give them some shout out. Tonight's program, Getting Your Energy Back and Natural Treatments for Pain Considerations. We're going to be talking about acetyl myristoyate and astaxanthin and curcumin and collagen peptides and how they can help. And the reason why I'm giving this, I have so many times doctors will say, hey, why are you giving away your secrets? And the answer is because people need it, and there's no such thing as a shortage of sick people. So we put this podcast together specifically to help people. Now, we've got some resources available. Let me see if I can get rid of that little ticker thing. You can get them over at drjasonwest.live. So I've got a little ebook over there. I've got some resources and stuff. So if you're not picking this up live, don't sweat it. You can see it over on drjasonwest.live. And the intention, the purpose of the podcast is so that people know of their options. So we're going to be talking about how and why pain saps your energy all the way around, and some ideas and suggestions of what to do about it. So without further delay, let's get right into our program here, Fixing the Energy Deficit. And one of the first things, I got to go back to the first slide about how pain kills energy. And there's so many different ways to pain. You have headache pain, you have low back pain, you have neck pain, you have tendonitis, there's bursitis, there's stomach cramps, there's menstrual cramps, there's bladder problems and pain from not being able to go to the bathroom, too little or too much. But the bottom line is pain robs your life. And the reason why I put up this graphic right here about low back pain is because it is literally one of the things that seems to affect everybody in some point in their lives. And so, but it's all kinds of pain. And so the reason why is because of this. So I just wanted to share that with everybody, that the immune system of cells are attacking the inflammation. And when I say attack your body, like if you have a sprained ankle and you injure the tissues, your immune system is going to come in and help with those, basically to get rid of the damaged tissues. It tries to release inflammatory cytokines and proteins in the blood that cause fatigue, especially when the disease activity is high or low grade inflammation remains for a long time period. Now, this is one of the things that I tell people of why you want to be so careful with putting inflammatory foods into your system is because it can tip that over. And so people that are having pain will amplify the pain trying to eat feel good foods, and it actually is making anything worse. So what is a feel good food like? Well, that's the sugar system. So if you reach for, I need a quick fix, I need a milkshake, I need a soda, I need a candy bar, I need a granola bar, which masquerades as health foods. And it's one of my pet peeves. There's so many granola bars that aren't that healthy. It just seems to aggravate pain. Now, I had a kidney stone once, and I'm so glad they had some pain medications. Like, I was scared I was going to live and I wanted to die because of the kidney stone pain. But what I'm trying to say is, like, I don't fault anybody for wanting to be out of pain, but sometimes the pain pathway, whether it's over the counter or anti-inflammatories, or whether it's some of the prescriptive drug pathways, cause other problems. So whenever it's possible to substitute maybe a common pain thing, which is Aleve or aspirin or Tylenol or ibuprofen or acetaminophen or whatever is over there, to something like essential fatty acids and curcumin and bioflavonoids that help to control pain and help to give you energy, I think that is something that everybody needs to be aware of. So going back to my little graph here, pain sucks energy, and chronic pain sucks even more energy. It's so often people come into my office to work with mixed connective tissue disease and fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. And the new way to state that, which is the myalgic encephalopathy, or autoimmune disorders, or Lyme support, or cancer support therapy, or when people are looking for something and they're having a chronic healthcare problem, we're trying to fix the energy deficit. We're trying to help with, is there a way to help with the electron flow and to get oxygen into the system and improve circulation and reduce inflammatory foods? And the answer is yes. People need to know about that. So one of the slides that talks about chronic pain is it's this vicious cycle. So I'm just using the example in my slide for arthritis. With people that struggle with arthritis, whether it's osteoarthritis or the bad cousin rheumatoid arthritis or Sjogren's syndrome or bursitis or heel spurs or chronic low back or neck pain, what it does is it wears people down. And that leads to exhaustion, which when your levels go down, people are looking for a crutch or a bump or something like that. And that can lead to chocolate addictions and sugar addictions and stress addictions and looking for something to feel better. And let's try again, put everything in balance. Anytime there's a chronic or complicated healthcare condition that comes into the office, the number one goal is to try and put everything in balance and harmony. And there's some natural things that help to do that. And one of my first favorite things, and it's like a broken record, I love vitamin D for not only your immune system, but I see really good outcomes with vitamin D and pain control. I also like using, and I'll give you the recipe here in just a little bit, essential fatty acids, which is like your omega-3s and 6s and 7s and 9s and 12s. So your short, medium, and long chain fatty acids. If you get those into your system, it's been my experience that they can act like an anti-inflammatory or over the counter without hurting your liver and your kidneys and ripping up your stomach and some other things. You just got to combine it with a proteolytic enzyme. So I'm a little bit ahead of myself, but I just wanted to share that with people, that if we can do some things outside of the office and outside of the hospital system and outside of the specialists to reduce pain and improve your quality of life, like, that's a really good place to start. So essential fatty acid pills, they come in these, I thought I had a little example here, but they're small little pills that, kind of look about the size of the end of your fingertip. Usually each omega-3, omega-6 essential fatty acid is about 1,000 milligrams. So a good way for people to get help is to be on about 4,000 to 5,000 milligrams of essential fatty acids. And then if you combine that with an enzyme, it's a really good outcome. So papaya, bromelain, raw cherry extract, a lot of the digestive enzymes can work in that pathway. And I see little, conflict or problems with prescribed medications or other healthcare concerns if you're just taking a healthy essential fatty acid and mixing with an enzyme. Now, it doesn't work as fast as aspirin or an over-the-counter anti-inflammatory. So I have to tell people, look, this is not like I'm going to take something and and 30 minutes later I'm going to feel a little bit better. This has to build up. Usually it's about a 7 to 10 day buildup system, where if we can build that up, and then if you can keep it there, then what happens is we have a really nice pain control system. Another one that is a really good thing to do after you put in essential fatty acids is apple cider vinegar. Now, everything that I'm talking about is not meant to substitute a doctor-patient relationship or to try and make it so that you stop any type of medication. No, none of that. What it's trying to do is to give people information so that they can live a better life outside of the healthcare system. So chronic pain leads to fatigue. And then what happens is when you're tired, your energy levels come down and then all the pain's worse. It's so rare to find someone that isn't suffering from arthritis or fibromyalgia or complex regional pain syndrome or reflex sympathetic dystrophy that isn't exhausted, because that pain is just, I always tell people, you know what, your life, it seems like you are having a really good set of energy here. So we have 100, let's just pretend 100 units of energy. This is what I said last week. 60 is for life and everything else. 20 is for your relationships and 20 is for your work, or, but you essentially get 100 units of energy. Well, what happens with pain is it come in and it takes away like 50 units of energy. Then you only have half the energy to deal with the other stuff. That's why it's so important to try and have something with pain. Now, this is not an anti-medicine educational thing or a podcast or something that is attacking medicine. It's not. It's just that there's maybe in medicine, and not maybe, in some medicines, there's some unwanted effects, which we call side effects. And so I just wanted to point out, a lot of times when people come in the office, it's not their primary concern that we're working with. It's actually of the effects of their medicine. And of course, no one wants those effects. They're side effects. And I always tell people, like, there's no such thing as side effects. Drugs don't have side effects. They have effects. If you put them in your body, they're going to have an effect. Now, side effects is just some clever marketing and some clever blame shifting associated with a drug therapy. And the answer is, like, let's try and make people healthy and give them things so that we don't need the medications except when nothing else works or there's no other option. Now, when we talk about the medication side effects, for instance, some of the medications for arthritis cause drowsiness or fatigue. We can have narcotic dependency. We can have some of the DMARDs, which is disease modifying, prescriptive therapy, can have some things that are unwanted. And cortisone therapy is one of the worst things around. And let me explain that. Like, prednisone and cortisone therapy is an amazing anti-inflammatory that knocks things down. And a lot of times it's prescribed with the hopes of the body will heal itself. So when the steroids stop, that the patient is healthy. Well, the problem with that is sometimes that there isn't a response, or the patient isn't getting the pain relief, and the long-term steroid therapy, it's pretty hard on people. We can develop Cushing's disease. It can destroy bones and tendons and ligaments and some other things. And long-term use isn't good. Short-term use is a bridge to get us there. So a lot of times I'll work with other healthcare providers that they'll prescribe a prednisone or cortisone shot therapy, and then we can step in and with some healing modules. And the healing modules are this, again, essential fatty acids, proteolytic enzymes. Apple cider vinegar is a really good thing. Magnesium is a really good miracle. Properly used iodine and calcium and bone building and some other things to really give you some good outcomes. And one of my favorite things to tell you about is something called CMO. Now, CMO stands for cetyl myristoyl. In my opinion, it's kind of like a supercharged glucosamine or chondroitin. And what it does is it helps your body to heal from that inflammatory response. Now, just like everything else in medicine, is there any one thing that fixes everything? Nope. It's not, natural therapies. It's not surgery. It's not prescriptions or chemotherapy. No one has all of the answers. What should happen is we should have this really nice conglomeration of providers from different disciplines working for the betterment of the patient. But that really hasn't happened in healthcare yet. I mean, hopefully it's going to come, but right now it seems like there's all these little different categories. But what I'm saying with that, cetyl myristoyl, it works a little bit more effectively, in my opinion, than glucosamine or chondroitin. The abbreviation you'll see is CMO. And CMO, I think, just is so helpful for chronic pain when it's associated with the joint moving. So arthritis, fibromyalgia, tendonitis, I think there's some really good things with the acetylmyrostoyate. Now, of course, I like the chondroitin and I like the glucosamine. We're going to talk a little bit more about this coming up in the next slide here. Okay, one of the worst things that you can do for pain is to not do anything. I mean, we have this kind of funny thing of this guy, running the remote with his beverage on the side of him, telling everybody what to do. Inactivity is one of the worst things that you can do for pain. And we got to have some movement. Having people just do physiologic rest and not move leads to deconditioning syndrome and some other things that isn't good for people. So it's kind of a little bit of an oxymoron. And what I mean by that is it's some conflict. Like if you have a sprained ankle, you don't want to go run a marathon. I get that. But at the same time, you can't just not move that joint or it's not going to be healthy either. So this is something I see a lot of people say, I don't feel very good. So I try to move the least amount as possible. That's not very good either. The lack of movement, what it does is the more that you have inactivity, the more exhausted you feel. The unused muscles can get weak. And there was a study out of the Scandinavian Journal of Medicine that found that people with fibromyalgia who spent less time sitting and more time doing light physical therapy had lower levels of fatigue and pain than those that were inactive. Now, there's always some parameters and stipulations associated with that, where if you have a broken bone or some other things where you don't want to move, but for the most part, in chronic pain patterns, some activity is really, really healthy for you, and it helps to push the toxins out of your systems. When your skeletal muscles contract, it pushes everything back into the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system basically gets over to the liver and the kidneys, and then we get it excreted. If you don't move enough, what happens is now we have more and more toxins to deal with, and it's really hard on the body. Another cause of pain and fatigue and everything else is anemia. Now, anemia is when your red blood cells aren't healthy. And when people come in to work with me in the office, I always tell them, if we can make your cells healthy, then you can be healthy. So everything's happening at a cellular level. Fortunately, this is a pretty easy thing to determine. We just take a blood test. We check your red blood cell, your hemoglobin, hematocrit, what's called the MCV, the MCHC, and look at your total iron levels. Now, this is one of the things that is cautious for people, because sometimes what happens is people say, I feel very good. I'm really, really tired. I must be anemic. I better start taking some iron. And I think this is a really inappropriate or bad decision, because iron doesn't necessarily make you less tired. It will only do that if you are deficient in iron. But iron, like some other things, if you get too much of it, I think it's worse than having not enough of it. If you have an iron overload, we're going to poison your system. We're going to have a disease called hemochromatosis, which is an iron overload, which poisons the nervous system, the liver, and the kidneys. And so too little iron is bad. You're exhausted. Too much iron is bad, and you're going to get poisoned. So what do we just have to be in the middle, just like blood sugar. Too much, you get diabetes and you die. Too little, you can lapse into a coma, and the nervous system shuts off, you die. It has to be balanced. Okay, the next thing that we're talking about with fatigue and anemia, I'm going to skip that part, is a lack of sleep. And the reason why I skipped that other slide and jump to this one is because when we start talking about not enough sleep, if you can't heal, you can't sleep. Your risk of diabetes goes up. Your risk of organs not working the way that they should goes up. There's so many different things that don't work well when you can't sleep. And people say, well, I just can't shut off at night. Well, we have a really nice study called 27 Secrets to a Good Night's Sleep. Or when I say study, a report that gives people some recommendations. One of my favorite things to do is to get a blank sheet of paper, like this. This is one of the best things that I know for people that can't shut off is, well, it's supposed to be blank. Okay, let's pretend that it was blank. And what you do is you get a pen or a pencil and you write out whatever's on your mind. Because I think when people can't shut off, what's occurring is their subconscious or their deep insides are worried that their conscious mind is going to forget about things. And so what do? Is it's when everything starts to quiet down and the mind and the body are sitting there, they'll literally we have this little woodpecker going, well, don't forget about this, or I'm worried about this, or my kids are doing this, and it's an incessant, and it's literally the opportunity for one part of your system to talk to another system. Other times there's just too much activity that's going on. And so what I tell people is, look, if you get a piece of paper and try and decompress your nervous system, write out whatever's on your mind. And there's no right or wrong answer to this. Like I like to write, I just like to do a mind dump. I write an idea over here, and then I went over here and over here, and sometimes I'll connect them together. And by the time it gets done, it looks like someone scribbled on a piece of paper, and it's just me decompressing. Now, what's funny about that is my wife does the very opposite. She has heart-shaped bullets. She has full sentences, and she will write it. You can publish it in Good Housekeeping. And she looks at my list and she's like, well, what are you doing over there? Like, that's so disorganized. And I look at her list. I'm like, that stresses me out. It's too organized. And why I give you this example is it's just who you are. Do it the way that helps you to get it out of your system. And then what you do in the morning is when you get up, you can look at your list. And most of the time, what people is on their mind or what they're writing down on their sheet, they don't have any control over. They recognize, look, that's not something that I should be losing sleep over. I've just found it such a powerful activity. And then also having a sleep sanctuary and going to bed at the same time and trying to get any electromagnetic frequency radiation sickness, which is, the LED lights and TV and your iPad and your phone, like, get it out of your sleeping sanctuary so your body doesn't think that you're going to really get stimulated at night. Instead, you can shut off. It's such an important part of the pain management process. People get tired and then they hurt. And because they hurt, they get tired. So if we can kind of interrupt part of that vicious 22 cycle, then what happens is people will feel a lot better. Okay. So the other thing that causes a lot of pain and discomfort is having too much energy in your system. So and we call that the F word, or adipose tissue, or brown and white adipose tissue and FAT and everything like that. But having too much energy can cause some sleep apnea problems relating in daytime fatigue, and the lack of movement or lack of exercise and extra puts more body weight and metabolic changes that makes your hormones work harder. And so I don't believe anybody is purposely has too much stored energy. But what we want to do is get people healthy enough and get their energy levels up and get them to move more so that they have the least amount of stored energy as possible. And where does it come from? Well, I really do like donuts, even though they're not healthy for you. There was a poll with healthcare providers. It was voted as one of the top 3 unhealthy foods of all time. And so I put this in here, and just as a reminder for me, like, don't ever eat donuts, only because I think that they are just really, really an empty calorie and full of inflammatory foods. Inflammation is refined white sugar. Empty calories means immediately when it hits your body, your pancreas kicks in, and literally it's trying to store up too much energy. Okay. Poor nutrition. So many times people aren't getting what they need to be healthy. They don't get enough water. They don't eat enough vegetables. I thought the vegetable thing, and some people that are hearing this podcast are probably going to laugh because they know that I'm talking about them. I used to think that not getting enough vegetables is just a kid thing, right? Like you're when you're growing up, you like, chicken nuggets, and you like Jello, and you like, cold cereal, and some of these other things that wow, that's what all kids eat, right? I've had so many adult patients. I think more of it is about, it's like 75-25 men. They're like, yeah, I don't eat that plant matter stuff. Like, I'm not a rabbit. I'm like, no. I mean, I've had guys say, look, I eat meat and I have potatoes, and sometimes I have corn. And if you really push it, I might have some green beans. And I said, I got an idea. Like, I know why you're sick. Like, you got to eat more plant matter and more colorful foods. That's why one of the things that we talk about in our workups with people, one of the best dietary rules, you guys, is this: when you sit down to eat, you should have a rainbow of colors on your plate. There should be some red and some green and some yellow and some orange and some white, purple, Skittles and Starbursts don't count. It has to be plant matter. But the more colorful, alive your food is, I really think that it's healthier that you are. And another recommendation is you shouldn't use anything that has, you need a box, a wrapper, or a can opener. Try and eat your food as healthy and alive as possible. The best source of acetylmyristoliate and glucosamine and chondroitin and collagen peptides and electron donors and inflammatory modulars is your knife and fork. So I really want people to eat as healthy and alive as possible. Okay, the chronic joint pain we talked about, like the whole purpose of this presentation is about joint pain and arthritis and things that can attack, whether it's autoimmune or if it's just wearing out, and then not using these things called muscles in your system really do cause a lot of pain. We've got to get people, like, if you don't use it, you lose it type scenario. Okay, and that causes the loss of muscle mass, and then, of course, there's everything else. Now, there's some specific diseases and conditions that cause, pain and cause the muscles not to work, and the autoimmune pathway and some other things. But here's some ideas, and you can get this, you guys, in a lot of different places. I just wanted to show you what I was doing and what recommending, so that if you are across the street or across the country, let's give you something that will help you. So number one, improve your essential fatty acids. I like proteolytic enzymes, things that help to break down food, apple cider vinegar and curcumin and bromelain and black pepper and some of the hot foods that have capsaicin and stuff in it, I think are really, really good for you. That's in what's called a product called WHIP. So I put something together because I was tired of tired of not having a really good pain protocol for people. So what WHIP is just something that has herbs and nutrients in it to help clean up inappropriate or bad proteins and helps with the oxidative stress. Now, there's a lot of things available out there. I don't care where you get it. I just hope that you would consider trying something that has some proteolytic enzymes and some astaxanthin and some acetylmyristolate in it before we start immediately jumping to the over-the-counter pathway. And the reason why is because it's so hard on people's stomach. The other one that I love that I recommend for people, and maybe you've heard of this and maybe you haven't, is something called astaxanthin. Now, astaxanthin is basically the krill. The fish eat krill. So you hear all the time about how good it is for your body to have essential fatty acids and fish oil and stuff in your system. So what astaxanthin is it's what the fish eat to get fish oil. So we're just taking out the middle guy here. It usually has this beautiful red color. It's a lot more powerful than fish oil or essential fatty acids. And by the way, for people, I get to hear this all the time, for people that come in and say, you know what, I can't take fish oil because if I do, what happens is, like, I get fish burps and stuff like that. In my experience, that means that the fish oil that you have is rancid. It's gone bad. When you have a good essential fatty acid formula, like, you shouldn't have any bad regurgitation or stuff coming up. So essential fatty acids, if you're taking them and you're getting bad burps and aftertaste and stuff like that, it means that it's probably bad. Check the expiration date, smell it. If it doesn't like it, just get rid of it. Now, even better is your essential fatty acid pathway from foods, avocado and spinach and raw nuts and kale. And if you're not having any difficulties or concerns with eggs, I think that's a good place. And beef stew and chicken noodle soup, where you're getting the animal fats into your system. I think that there is some good pathways for essential fatty acids. It's so good for pain control. Essential fatty acids and vitamin D are really, really good for pain control. And then that vitamin D thing has such an amazing effect on your immune system. Another product that we tell people about is something called Triple P. Triple P is something that helps with the resolution of a healthy inflammatory response. It's kind of like a natural immunomodulator in my experience. And again, this is the part where I say, look, this is just what I'm seeing happening in my office. It's not something that's approved by the FDA. It's just something that I want to tell people about, where you get it from me or the health food store or another healthcare provider or a naturalist or functional medicine, a naturopathic chiropractor. Like, if you can find something that has some natural pain markers, which is, in my experience, they act like little pain control guys, then I think that that is something to be aware of and have a consideration for. So I have one called Triple P, another one, and this is the one that I really like, that has the acetylmyristoliate in it. It has some really neat enzymes in it. It helps to provide functional building blocks for cartilage and ligaments and stuff like that. Is something that I help formulate, called Joint Freedom. And Joint Freedom has those COX-1 and COX-2, basically natural things that block some of those pain modulators. And there's a lot of different products that are like this out there. Now, I wanted to tell you about some of those and expand your horizons. There's certainly so many different things that I didn't have a chance to go over. Some of the polyphenols and the phytonutrients and things that we see in mushrooms and there's a herb called Yakatron. There's a herb called Lomatia that I see really good outcomes with. Cayenne, I see some outcomes with it. There's a homeopathic called Arnica. All of those things work for some people. None of them work for everyone. And when you're in a chronic pain situation, what happens is it's kind of lonely and it's kind of frustrating because everybody has that best friend or that cousin or that neighbor that says, oh my gosh, I had this pain and I took XYZ and I took this or I took that and now all of it's gone. And then you go over there and you try it and maybe it doesn't work the same as your friend, your cousin, your neighbor. And the answer to that is like, you got to keep looking and keep trying. Get your lifestyle habits, so drink more water, move a little bit more, increase your vitamin D intake, do your best to manage stress and emotions, and have a considerations for some of those things. Now, if you need some of those things that I mentioned, I'm happy to help you. I was going to put together a pain program that said just go to this page, but that's not fair because here's why. There's so many times when people have pain from arthritis or pain from stomachs or pituitary headache pain, which happens a lot with female hormone systems, or bowel movement pain, or vaginal pain, or male pain. Like there's all these that it takes different things. So what I decided to do is this: if you're needing some help with a pain pathway, would you reach out to us and just shoot us something called info@West Clinic Online? Because there's no way that I can just put together a universal pain protocol without knowing a little bit about you. So that's the thing. Now, a couple of reminders for everybody next week, or if you've missed this on the live, if you want to pick us up, if you didn't get this at the beginning, no problem. Just head over to drjasonwest.live. I put all my replays over there. There's a little registration page that I ask to give you your name and your information. I won't sell it or give it to anybody else. Then as soon as you click in there, I think we've done over 120 live programs on arthritis, on fibromyalgia, on PCOS, on what to do for Lyme disease, on shingles, on autoimmune disorders and stuff like that. It's all over on our page, Dr. Jason West Live. This is what it looks like. And if you want to do a little bit more work with me, I need to tell you about the program. I've had so many people ask me about this. It's called our Thrivers program. So what our Thrivers program is it in 30 minutes, we go and I do this virtual office visit with people. I customize their supplements and I recommend that they come in once a quarter and we do this yearly workup. And I think it's the best deal in healthcare. If you want to know more about it, all you have to do in the comment section, just type in Thriver. All you do, and then my team will reach out to you and tell you if you want a weekly virtual office visit with me and an incredible deal on the things we offer in the office, you need to know about the Thriver program. Next week, I was telling people a little bit about this already. We're going to be talking about infertility and miscarriages and things like that, how we can help support female health. It's kind of a frustrating thing when I have women that come in, they're saying, you know what, I wasn't able to carry my baby to term, etc. And they put me on different medications, or we tried some birth control and regulate. And I'll say, do they ever test your hormones? And many times people say, nope, never tested. They just said, try this. So we're going to talk about some considerations for testing and the best test to do. And it seems to me over the last 21 years that there seems to be more, maybe I'm just aware of it, there seems to be more younger women miscarrying. What does that mean? And how can we help support that system and some other things? That's what we're going to be talking about in the next week's live. It's infertility and miscarriages. You guys, that is our program tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you missed it, drjasonwest.live. If you want to do some more in-depth work with me, we have a program called the Thrivers program that we go to in just a minute, which we do a virtual office visit, and we really, really hone in on questions that you have. That is our Thrivers program every Wednesday at 7. That is our program for some considerations for chronic pain. Next week, miscarriages and infertility, a special shout out to my team at the West Clinic, and I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to the Hellness to Wellness podcast. Every week, we're sharing stories of people beating their disease. or restored hope, treatments most doctors don't even know about, and information you need to live your life at the highest level. Remember, live. Don't just exist. Do us a favor. Please like the show and give us a rating on Apple Podcast or Spotify. It really helps to share the message of health and hope. For additional resources like booking appointments and free video masterclasses, check out www.drjasonwest.live. It's internet information you can trust. Here's to your energy, balance, and longevity. And we'll see you on the next Hellness to Wellness episode, where you'll be